welcome to the Gussets and Go Days podcast, episode number 9. My name is Christina and this is my podcast about my knitting, stitching and all my crafting endeavours. So happy to see you again this week. I had a really fantastic week and I've done lots of knitting and I'm really excited to show you everything. I was really lucky last weekend to go for a monogramming course, so I went to Hand and Lock in central London where I learned how to do some monogramming, and that really got me in the mood for some embroidery and some hand stitching. So I finished my, let me just pull it out here, my Floral Fields embroidery, which I was hoping would be like right there on the wall, but it's not, because the 8-inch hoop that I need to frame it in has not arrived. But here we go. Could potentially have ironed it in advance, but I didn't. So there's a little house, and then I did me. Let's just check that it's, oh, so cute. I have had this, I've been working on this, gosh, since November. I can't do long stretches like I can with knitting or sewing. With hand stitching, I don't know. I do enjoy it, but I don't. It's great. I enjoyed doing it. I just didn't do it for many, many hours at a time. And this was by the Thread Folk. Let me just get you. Did I print it off? No, I didn't. These are just all my instructions. Anyway, it's by the Thread Folk, which I followed her on Instagram, and I love this. The Floral Fields. Is it Lauren Merrick? Lauren Merrick? She does these design collaborations where I think an artist draws her something and then she turns it into an embroidery. So they are just spectacular and they are pieces of artwork. So I love them. I went with the colours from that they recommended. So hopefully next week when you see me, it will be there hanging beautifully. And in the same strain, more embroidery. I then started working on the Emerald City. Who is this by? Satsuma Street by Jody Rice, which is on Etsy. So I'm really excited. Woohoo! And every time I see this, I want to sing One Fine Day in the Emerald City. Do you know it from Wicked? Because I have seen that so many times. It was my sister's favourite musical. It is my sister's favourite musical, and gosh, I must have seen it 6 times. So every time I see this, straight away, one fine day in the Emerald City. Anyway, it's all like jingly jangly, the music, so I thought that was really fun. I love the hot air balloon, which would have had the wizard, poppy field. Again, I went with the colours, and I got the exact same linen. Just toss that over there. Where's the, oh wait, there it is. Gosh, I thought I'd lost it. So far, I've got a couple of windows. And about to do the archway, whatever. Anyway, I ordered the fabric from Cloudcraft online, and they have some really lovely stuff. And I think I ordered this from them as well, which is a needle minder. And this is like revolutionising, because I always lose my needle, and you just kind of drop it and it attaches. And I don't keep losing my needle now because it's magnetically attached. So I cannot wait. Cannot wait. So that was really lovely. I did enjoy that course on monogramming. I didn't fancy then coming home and doing monogramming because I don't have anything I currently want monogrammed, so just put me in the mood to do that. Oh, and I forgot to mention what I'm wearing. So this one is one of my makes. It's just a little wrap top, super. Oh, readjust. There we go. Anyway, it is the B6285 Butterick pattern. It's one of Gertie's I love Gertie's patterns. Sorry about the glare and the plastic. But anyway. And the first one I made of this, it was so tight on the sleeves that I couldn't move my arms. I mean, I wore it anyway, but it was horrible. It really felt horrible to wear, so I just added a little bit of extra through this part of the pattern on the front and back, and then didn't change the body. There's a little bit of extra in the armhole, a little bit of extra fabric, but it means I've got perfect movement, and I think that's more important. Comfort, style, it's a rough balance. But not being able to move would be really stupid. So now I love it. And I've worn this a lot. I also have another one cut out, which I haven't sewn because my poor machine is sick. But she's going to have the doctor come soon. She is going to have the doctor come soon. Did I tell you that already? I have recorded the beginning of this episode so many times. I don't know what happened. But anyway, I made so many phone calls just before this to book in someone to come and fix my machine, but they all wanted me to bring the machine in and I couldn't, so now someone's coming from the other end of London and they're going to charge me a bomb, but I don't care because it needs to be fixed and fixing it is cheaper than a new one, so someone's going to come in. Woohoo! Ooh, now I'm going to move on to sewing projects. So I've only begun this project, but Nina Lee, I saw this on Instagram pop up on, I think on a hashtag. I was just searching through for pajamas and this one came up, and she's an indie pattern designer. I really love this pattern. I'm going to do the long version, and on Instagram she'd done it in this fabric, so I bought the same fabric, which I really love. Little rosebuds, and then I've got some ribbon for the waist tie on the trousers and some piping. Ooh, gosh, what a bit of a disaster, isn't it? And some piping. They're in a cornflower blue, and this is the same piping that I used for my dressing gown. It has a slightly satiny finish. I know the two aren't exactly the same colour, but I thought it didn't really matter. And they're not exactly next to each other on the garment. Let me just check the focus. I do check, I'm checking the focus a lot, aren't I? Never mind. This was not a cheap fabric, but I was happy to spend a little bit of extra for what I thought would be a beautiful quality fabric. And this piece is not a great piece to show you, but there are lots of areas where the red has smudged in a line, or there are slubs. This has none. There are slubs in the cotton. So annoying. Oh. Or there was a piece where there was missing, just, you know, like a missing piece with no dye. There's just like a white piece in the pink. So I'm not really quite sure what to do about that. It is not the... So I bought it from Sew Over It. It's not their fault, it's not their fabric. They sell it, but it's not one that they make, so I'm sure they didn't realise. Maybe I'll drop them an email. I'm still going to make it out of this, but it's just a bit disappointing. Never mind. They are still going to be fabulous, and it doesn't matter. So once this machine is fixed, I'm going to finish my dressing gown and I'm going to stitch this together. Yay! Anyway, moving on to the knitting, which actually my project is just here, so pardon me a tick. There we are. So the shawl. So okay, this yarn is by the Little Tailoress, Amy, and I ordered this Skating at the Palace colourway, and then she sent me also this pink, which is so pretty, and this is sparkly, which I don't think you can really see, but anyway, it's a fingering sparkle weight sock yarn. And this is the, what is this? It's called the WatersEdge shawl. I don't write notes for myself when I podcast, I just kind of go rogue. So, oh, pardon me. I'm going to write the details for the shawl down below. I think it is the WatersEdge. Maybe it's not. I think it is. So it has this kind of very sweet eyelet detail, and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And then I faded in. The fade is not part of the pattern. I just think I did one of the, I knitted the pink first. And when I decided I wanted to fade, I did one of the purple and then 3 of the pink, and then 1 of the purple, and then 2 of the pink, and then 1 of the purple, and then 1 of the pink. And then I did it the opposite way. So 1 of the purple, 2 of the pink, 1 of the purple, 2 of the purple, 1 of the pink, 3 of the purple, 1 of the pink. Anyway. It's possibly a little bit of a short fade. It still has like quite an obvious border to it, so I could potentially have done double and had more of a softer fade. Look at that drape. I could just wave this around forever. Idea of this shawl was, and is, just over the shoulders. So wearing it, no idea how well you even saw that, but okay. So just wearing it over the shoulders with a pretty summer dress. On those days when it's lovely and warm outside, but then the evenings do get a little bit chilly. And actually I'm all about the story. I love a story. We did a course once at work for retail telling you how to sell to different people. So there are people who, they like the facts, they like knowing where it's made, what's the composition of things, why it's the best, which is great with electronics, you know, because you want to know what you're getting for your money and how it compares to other things on the market. I think a lot of men shop like that. And then you've got people that make very quick decisions, like it, want it, take it, really easy. You've got really indecisive people who aren't really quite sure what they're looking for and you really need to guide. There's all different types of people. And in order to sell things, which I know it's not, my job is not to sell things, mine is to alter things, but I assist in the sale by doing the alterations. So I thought it would be fun to do that course, and I am the person who likes a story. So you don't just sell the garment, you sell the lifestyle. So if you're selling a dress, you're describing the event to them. Oh, how lovely is that fabric going to look in the candlelight on the evening of the occasion? Everyone's going to look at you when you walk in. You'll be the star of the show. I don't know. Whatever the story is, you kind of have a little chit chat with the customer and find out where they want to go with it, what's the occasion, and then you kind of, it sounds really mean, just spinning this fake story. Spin me a story and I will buy it. So for me, this is at the end of the picnic when it starts to rain and you've had to like really quickly pack everything up, and then you're sitting under a tree with all your belongings, a little bit cold, so you put the shawl on and you watch the rain. I don't even go on picnics, so I don't know when this rainy picnic is happening, but when it does, I'm going to wear my beautiful shawl. Isn't that lovely? So I thought when you knit a shawl, you knit from the tip of the shawl, so here. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you bind off along the edge. No, opposite way, opposite way. I guess all things are made differently, but you make this like tiny little thing here with like a few stitches and pick up a few. That was fun. And then you're knitting down and across. So you're on your needles is this triangle and the middle is the tip. So it looks really weird when you're knitting on it because you can't really pull it out very nicely. It was an incredible construction, and I guess that's why you get the, you can see the V of the colours, and that V is, obviously my stitches are going along in that direction. I knit it in the needle suggested, whatever that was in the pattern, and it has this little garter edge, so just before you bind off you do a couple of rows of garter, and I have blocked it, and it does very slightly roll. Okay, it looks like it's rolling a lot there, so I'm thinking whether, do you think it maybe is worth a second block, maybe just blocking the edge again? It just seems to be, okay, yeah, it's just the end, it's just the corners that roll, not even that corner. One corner is rolling. Can you re-block one side? I'm not sure. Anyway, I have so enjoyed this project. I cannot recommend it. So I will put the details down below so you can see what it is, and if you've not knit a shawl before and you've been maybe a little bit worried about it, like I was, because so many of them are very complicated, this one is simple yet effective. It's so drapey and lovely, and you could most definitely wear it more as a scarf. I know loads of podcasts wear it. Kind of like this, and then they either leave the tips out or, I don't know, put them under. Looks a bit like neckerchiefy. Which the nice thing about wearing a shawl like that is you don't then have the ends of the scarf, because I find when I wear a scarf you've got these flapping bits you're not quite sure what to do with, and then they're really bulky. So now, I mean, if you wore it like that, you don't really have much bulk at the back, you're just covering your neck. So lovely. I knitted it in 3 days. I was off for 2 of those days, and then the third day I spent the morning before work and then the evening after work knitting in an absolute frenzy, and managed to finish it, and then I blocked it the next day. So within a week I had knit that shawl, which is amazing. It's so squidgy. Oh, I'm so happy with that project. I'm going to save it for the warmer weather. Well, you shouldn't really save things, but I do. Okay, the other project that I will be working on, that I have been working on, is the tongue-tied by Amy of the Poison Grrls. So it's a little t-shirt with a lace shoulder, and it's a short sleeve tee, and it's the kind of tee you would have worn, t-shirt you would have worn in the 50s with a matching cardigan as a twin set, which of course with my little vintage aesthetic I got going on, I thought would be perfect. It's okay, so I mentioned before I hate lace and I was terrified of it, but I did it and there are no mistakes, and I pulled back a good few times. Thank God I did, because it would have really annoyed me if the lace was, you can see it's almost striped, or it is striped, you've got these heavier lines running through. Now if I'd made a mistake I don't think I would have worn it, so I'm really glad I pulled back. It's being knit out of baby alpaca silk, which is super, super soft. This colour is the powder colour, 1306, and I really like it. I have knitted a lot with drops yarn, and I've done their Charisma, which was nice, and their Lima was also nice. So I'm a fan of their yarn, and it's very economical in price, which you've got to love. And I swatched in the round. So I knitted to the end and then I carried the yarn round the back and knitted again and then just snip the ends. And I was struggling to count the rows that I needed, so I just hand stitched in a contrast colour around so I could measure it more easily. And I got, did I get gauge on the first go? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Got gauge on the first go. Not bad at all. So far, the only alteration that I have made is because I'm bigger on the top and then smaller on the waist, is I continued doing decreases. So that looks like ridiculously shaped, but I wanted it fitted on the waist. So once that kind of stretches over the body, it hugs on the waist rather than bagging. Because I'm not that extremely shaped, but you know, knitwear is stretchy and I wanted to have a good negative ease on the waist, but I didn't want huge negative ease through the bust because I didn't want bras showing through. And I made a huge mistake when I was making this, because I bound it off with just a an ordinary bind off where you do knit 2, slip 1, slip right over left, knit another one, slip right over left. I don't know what that's called. That's the usual bind off I would use, and I did it really loosely, and then I put it on and I couldn't get it over my bust at all. Big mistake. So then I undid it all and re-knit it with, rebound off with the surprisingly stretchy cast on. Is it Judy's surprisingly stretchy cast on? Julie? Someone has a very surprisingly stretchy bind off, and that is it. I've heard also that you should bind off with this bind off but do it tightly, which sounds counterintuitive. I didn't do that, I did it loosely, which is maybe why it looks a little bit messy. But once it's stretched on me, then it gives quite a nice edge. So that is all I have to say about that. I put it down because I needed to pick up stitches around the neckline. I think you're meant to do the sleeves next, but I wanted to do the neckline so that when I knit the sleeves I can try it on and get a better feel for how it fits and how it will look before I start the ribbing on my sleeves. So that, and I don't enjoy picking up stitches one bit at all, not one bit. I find it really stressful, and because I never get the right amount of the right number of stitches, and I always have to go back and add more or take some away. So, yay! Hopefully that will be done soon, because I want to wear it, not because I'm fed up of it. It's now mostly stockinette, so that is very fun. Just casting my eye across all my little bits and bobs, and there's only one last thing, which is an acquisition-y but also crafty thing. So I bought, this is my new needle case for the interchangeable higher sharps that I just ordered. I ordered them on Amazon, they came really quickly, and the case was fine, but it was so ugly. And I threw it away straight away as soon as I'd finished making this, because, I mean, it was a black, I think it was a cotton twill, really, really heavyweight. So it was nicely durable, but then exactly the same shape. So you had this little flap, same size, and then there was a random kind of piece of sparkly, shiny, bright jacquard, and then it had a pocket on the back, and you know, I just thought it was really ugly. Which it shouldn't matter because it's a practical thing, but I was, can you say you're offended? It just looked really cheap and nasty to me. And I'd spent a lot on those needles, I think they were £50. So I looked on Etsy for a replacement, which there are lots of people who make beautiful replacements, not replacements, but just needle cases for interchangeable and for DPNs and for all sorts, you know, people make bags and lovely other accessories, but it was expensive, and I'd already spent £50 on the needles, and I just thought I can't spend another 50. The needles are an investment, but the case really is like an optional thing. You don't need a really lovely case. You can just keep it in what it came with. But I traced around the edges of the other one, and I made just a very sweet little pouch, and all my needles, all my cables are in the back, which the higher case didn't have. They had the zippable pocket in the back, but I thought it was nice to have it, a little flap there, and then you've got all the needles, and you've got kind of top stitching through here which separates the needles, and then I did a little patch pocket with a zip for the little bits and bobs that would have fallen out, the rubber tightening grips and the T-pin. And we had a really quiet day at work, and I think I used my lunch and my break to sit and make it. And then I used a little bit of cotton tape, and now I'm super just happy with this cute little thing. And I did monogram, it's not on there yet, but I monogrammed a little patch, which I will, I think, stitch in the corner or somewhere on the top flap, or maybe on the bottom here. It matches my little bag that I made, because I do love a gingham. I think a gingham is a neutral. I also think leopard print, polka dots and stripes are neutrals, which is clearly not the case, but never mind. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. It's just a super simple little project. It was a lot of fun, and I used some quilted interfacing just to give it that little bit of stability, so it doesn't kind of collapse on itself. And you can see it stays flat. It doesn't droop. I think that's important for the case. And anyway, talking a lot about this case, I was just really proud of myself, because as soon as it arrived, I was like, I hate it, don't like it, making a new one, and I did it straight away. I didn't let it become a chore that I was dreading doing, because I'd added it onto the list of other things that I need to be doing. I was excited about it, and I just powered through on that impulse, and I ended up making something really lovely. So yay! It's so pretty. Again, in that kind of picnicky theme. Anyway, that's all I've got to share with you this week. I think I've done quite a lot of making. Very proud of myself. I was so excited to do my podcast today. Especially since I have not been in my room. This is my room. I've got my little bed there. I've got my little wardrobe and a kitchen pantry over there, which is a like little vintage 1940s cupboard, which you can see. It's the powder blue one in my the little video in the beginning, the intro video. It's behind my mannequin. All my little things. Very lovely little room. But the room has been poisoning me, because I have been getting headaches, my ears have been buzzing, and it took me ages to realise, but there had been a flood upstairs which had not affected us. It had gone behind our walls into the downstairs flat and destroyed so much. And because everything was wet, upstairs had put an industrial dehumidifier to kind of draw the moisture out and make it livable, because it was, bless them, it was awful. I checked downstairs and there were no machines, so I very anxiously knocked on the door upstairs and explained about the kind of buzzing. And you can't hear it with your ears, you can't hear it, but if you sat in here for many hours in a row, you can just feel this kind of rhythm in your brain, which makes you feel really unwell, kind of like one of these crazy people who like rocks. That was me. that was me. And then I was waking up in the night with these heart palpitations, feeling really dizzy. And it turns out that that was an industrial dehumidifier, so I have moved into the spare room. And I'm not sure, I think it's still going on. I'd have to sit here for a few hours to tell you. Yeah, I think it's still going on. I'm feeling the poison. But I'm just happy that I now know what it is, and they won't have it forever. I'm happy for them to obviously use it and to fix the problem that they have. It must be really terrible for your home to be wet and for so much to be damaged, so I'm not going to complain. I have made myself comfy with a little quilt in the spare room, which is probably 3 times the size of my room. I like small spaces because I'm clearly a hobbit inside. Yeah. And because I've been staying in the other room, my ears now hear properly and no more headaches, and I don't feel like there's ants in my brain, so I've had a really good week since I moved into that other room. I might knock. Don't really want to bug them because they're really lovely girls upstairs. And she felt so dreadful when I told her that it was making me feel sick. Anyway, I'm rambling, but people seem to like to know about your life and little bits and bobs, so that is a little bit about my life. Just seeing if there's any upcoming things that I'm working on. I don't think, I don't know, I've heard podcasters say before that when you watch a podcast that you're seeing a very small portion of their life. Yeah, this is my life right here. And over there, and over there. Nothing much else happens. When you're not here, and I'm not recording, I'm still sat here, not talking to myself, usually. But, you know, watching little films on Netflix, or listening to some little bit of music on my little radio, and either sewing at my machine, or sat on the daybed. It's like a little daybed. It is a bed, but it's got sides, so you can kind of make it like a sofa if you put the cushions the other way, which I don't. But yeah, I go to work and I see customers and I pin the customers, and then we can do a bit of sewing, and then I come home and I do some sewing, and that's really it. So I will endeavour to share a little bit more snippets of my life and what's going on. Until next time.